Welcome back everybody to a new EKO CBG video, and fashionably as we often are, we are here to do a set 6 tier list on the eve of set 7's release. I know we are actually fashionably late, but that's fine, because see, here's the thing. This list, this list is basic shit. What do we want? Do you really want to hear the 15th opinion as to what's meta and what isn't? You good? Everything all right? No. Here's the thing. I'm gonna do a little bit of movie making magic, and you're gonna find a super honest, legitimate, objective list as to what is meta right this very moment, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Ready? 3, 2, 1. See, there we go. That's more the kind of tier list we do over at twitch.tv/EKO_CBG. Going all the way from the meta tier to the, you're almost there, to, sure, you can probably get away with it, to the clans that need a bit more support in the it's okay Timmy, you'll get there someday, all the way to the VP farmer tier, where you're basically going to be assumed to be VP farming or trolling and should, learn to win. It's alright. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a go deal. So those of you who have swung by earlier on in the limit break meta, you would have seen we actually played it quite a bit on stream. So the main issue with this deck is that it kind of relies on damage, but it needs you to stay alive at high damage, which, unlikely, especially nowadays with all these disgusting, gross, malignant gold paladins running around. You can't play the game. You can't play the freaking 9 critting you to heaven. How are you supposed to play that game like that? No. This thing is going strictly in the you'll get there someday. It's a good deck if you want to have fun, if you want to play with friends, but if you're trying to climb the ladder, I suggest you look elsewhere. As for our little boy Dote, as introduced in set 4, so it's about 2 to almost 3 months ago now. It's almost there. It's pretty much, it does well in tournaments. In ladder, it's a bit slow, so you're not going to get very far with it. I'm like, let's be honest. I don't know about that. But, it does okay in tournaments. Then we come up with a bit of good stuff Kagero. That is firmly in the rogue deck tier. It's pretty much if you want to have a bit of fun. You don't really want to play Dota. You don't like your whole deck relying around a single card, but you still want to have a bit of fun. You plop that there. It is the quality Kagero deck. It's pretty evergreen. It's been about the same since about set 1. It's been pretty good. A lot of people have been enjoying it since it's a good budget deck because most of the cards have been around for a while. But, we do. Then you come in with Indra. If I see you running Indra, I swear to God, I will hurt you. Do not show up anywhere with an Indra deck. In an entire month, we've only seen it once, and that person is a mistake. Do not bring this shit near me. It is disgusting. Don't touch me. When it comes to Narukami, that's a boy. That's a tier 1 boy. The most consistent deck post the absolute massacre of MLB circa 2020. It is an immensely consistent deck. It is constantly able to reach Vermilions, if not the Vermilions and Dungarees. Super flexible removal, just says no to your intercepts. And it's a very, very solid deck between its ability to ignore intercepts, hit over them, single target removal with Dungaree. Absolutely spectacular, in my opinion, well deserving of meta tier. Then we come up to a bit of Death Army. Those of you who have been playing it for a little while, you'll find it's very, very high roll, very reliant on triggers in order for everything to stand up multiple times. But that's not really a problem, because with running as many triggers as you are, being able to restand as often as you can, I would say it's probably top of tier 3, bottom of tier 2. I'd say it's been fairly enjoyable for us. Definitely a blast to play, an absolute blast to play. But when it comes to climbing, it's probably good for climbing, but for tournaments, I think it's as high as I think it's about as high as Novas are going to go in the current meta. Now, then we come to NLK. Oh baby, tier 4 it is. Now, the thing with NLK is if you're going on PvE content, it is potentially the best deck in the game. It is able to consistently fulfill the 4 or less damage criteria. with its ability to remove, if it's on 5 or more damage, it just sets you to 0. So if you win during that turn, you fulfill the criteria. If it doesn't fulfill that criteria, you're on 4 damage, and you fulfill it anyway. So as long as you ride it, you are guaranteed to defeat it with that last little tick box there. Now, when it comes to Ragey, though, those of you who have been playing this game fairly recently, it was introduced in the most recent set 6, and it's... And the thing with it is it's very reliant on soul charging, but the issue with soul charging is that it's very RNG heavy. So if you end up charging all of your triggers and all of your PGs, no matter what sort of plays you could possibly make with Chariot, with it being sending triggers back into the deck, if they all just get soul charged, you're shit out of luck. If none of them are left, you just lost all your heals, and there really is no justification for it. So I'm going to put it in mid-tier 3. I love the deck, it's a blast, it puts you 26k with 3 crit, you just get to steamroll people, but I don't think it's that good. I think it's, actually we probably could move good stuff down to about tier 4. I think we do that. I think that's probably a good place for now. Then here you might see Garmor, but we are actually talking about the MLB variant of Garmor, which is firmly in mid-tier 3, because it will lose to MLB just about every time, except for when it's facing itself. It's pretty much this, but unfortunately against every other matchup, it's just not as consistent as MLB, and with the recent hit Wingo Brave, the MLB has itself already taken a consistency hit, so I don't really think it can afford that sort of, not even leniency, I don't think it can really afford to get any slower than it already is. Now, if we're looking at spikes, this is obviously post their limit break release, which was I believe about last month or earlier on this month. It's strong tier 2. It's very consistent, it's able to fill empty slots, and while we're at it, we can also drop this in tier 4. So this is set 1 spikes, which needed a bit of support to get top, and I know Living Proof is probably rolling in his bed right now, seething with rage. But no, set 1 was, I think, solid tier 3, has now gone down to tier 4, but with Dudley Emperor and the new Dudley support, shoots straight up to tier 2, if not bottom to tier 1. I think we'll probably have it at top of tier 2 for now, but we'll able to maybe move it up. We'll see how it looks at the end, and we'll go from there. Now, the absolute Queen Lukier. Those of you who have been following the stream for a while know Pale Moon is my favorite clan at 0. So I had an absolute blast playing Pale Moon up to this point. I was waiting for Lukier. And although I know she's good, I don't like the deck at all. I think it's solid rogue level. I haven't really seen anybody like really pop off with it. I think that's maybe something that needs a bit of support, but we'll see. And even though this is personal preference, I do think that possibly something maybe like this, where it's top of tier 3, definitely better than Rage and Death Army in the sense that it's more consistent with Dreamy Fortress and integrating the Beast Tamer package. But Beast Tamer itself, I do find to be a whole lot more fun. If this was a fun list, this is going all the way up there. It's my favorite deck in 0, but unfortunately, given the way the meta is at the moment, I think it is a solid tier 3 deck. It needs a bit of support, especially when you can tech in some Dreamy Fortress, possibly even Lukier itself. But at that point, you're just kind of playing Lukier, so there's no much point. As for a solid VP farmer tier, immediately, if you see a Galahad starter, they're either somebody who has been gone for 3 months and, should probably take the first advice and have just quit the game. But if they're still playing it, it's just safe to assume it is a VP farmer, and it's freeload. It's a free game. It's free packs. Take it. When it comes to Fromage, at the moment, it's about here. Next set, so in about 12 hours, it'll be about here. So what's going to happen? You're going to find it resists Aquaforce spectacularly, solely because of the 15 base. But in my opinion, because of the requirement to have 4 battle sisters and not 3, and that being a parameter your opponent has control over, I think it falls bottom of tier 2 or top of tier 3. But even then, the only thing that nets it even a position there is its ability to resist Aquaforce. But joke's on you, it's not out yet, so here we go. It is mid tier 3 at best. Now, Tsukiyomi, unfortunately, is at the moment, in my opinion, about VP farmer tier. Solely because no one plays it on ladder. If you play it in tournaments, yes. If you play it in tournaments, it's all the way up here. 100%. But you're not playing it on tournaments because we are not doing tournaments at the moment. So, although if you do play them, it's about there, simply running into a ladder implies it's pretty much guaranteed to be a VP farmer because it's right chains and people haven't got the memo that it is actually August now and it's no longer June. Now, when it comes to witches, I think witches are about the same area as Battle Sisters, to be quite honest. Kind of the requirement to have no soul sort of necessitates that they hit their rides every single time, which obviously can't be guaranteed in this sort of game. And since you have no real control over Soul Blast at the moment, I know we're due to get it in 2 months, so not this set, not next set, the set after, so I believe that'll be in November. In November, we are meant to get the selective Soul Blasting, at which point I think witches will shoot up to high tier 3 or low tier 2. But up until then, I think they fall just short of Battle Sisters because they use a lot of each other's tools at the moment until we get more support. As far as PBO, tier 1. Now, Shadows have been more or less top of the meta since tier 4, with their introduction, with their PBO and PBD packages. Super, super powerful in between, from the Blasted Javelin to the Blasted Dark, all the way to, its Curse Lancers, its ability to remove, to gain crit, to get insane power on top of cross rides, on top of countercharging. Nemain for card draw, who's been haunting us even in real life. Oh god, please stop. The nightmare needs to end. It has been incredibly solid, incredibly consistent, and is to this day a great, great deck to climb the ladder with. And that remains the case even tomorrow with the release of the new expansion. Now, when it comes to our boy, Spectral Duke, I think the deck is top of tier 2, I think. So. I've been playing a lot of it this month on both Golds and Shadows. So for anybody who's unaware, it is a Gold Paladin card, but much like Blasted Dark, it can be played in Shadow Paladins in the way that Blasted Dark can be played in Royal Paladins. So it has a whole ride chain attached to it, which adds to a lot of consistency to getting it quite consistently. Its ability to be able to hit with its limit break of being counterblast 2 and retire to rear guards in favor of restanding even after being blocked by PGs adds incredible pressure when it comes to, getting the final 1 or 2 damage in, especially when you get some crits. Most of the lists are run with 9 crits, so you do get to cheese it down in quite a lot of easy wins. So I tend to find the deck to be fairly consistent and a great, great deck to climb with. However, as I said, not necessarily better than PBO, even if PBO is incorporated into it. So like in our list, we tend to run a Painter with 1 Phantom Blast Dragon as a Tekken option, so you can kind of still hit the cross-ride numbers without necessarily committing to the Blasted Dragon build. Now, when it comes to Azel, easily top of tier 1. Best deck in the meta right now, especially after the nerf of MLB. Before that, it was kind of taking seconds, kind of always a bridesmaid. But now with MLB being nerfed, getting a consistency hit, it has by far and away become the best deck in the game. Incredibly consistent. No matter what happens, you can disappear right into it on turn 2 if you're running the correct starter. If you run Spring Breeze, you just get ridiculous superior calls. You pretty much always hit what you want with your self damages. Hitting Limit Break is one of the easiest things you've ever done. It's probably even easier than playing MLB at this point. And yeah, until Plan Nasal, which just gets added to this deck, it is by far and away the best deck in the game right now. As for Pelennor, if you don't feel like running that, I think you're looking at decent tier 3, in the sense that it allows you to occasionally cheat out damage by riding Pelennor when your opponent's Vanguard is grade 2 or higher. What Pelennor will do is then take over your Vanguard, give you +5 can, +1 crit for that turn. But I think its biggest shortcoming is that without Azel, you don't really get to call it out very often. And if you're running Azel, well, you're running an Azel build. So at that point, you're relying on Vivian, who will Counterblast 1 will call it from your deck. But unfortunately, the lack of consistency as well as the fact that it doesn't stack on top of itself. So for example, if you were to manage to call 2 in a row, it wouldn't go to +10k and 2 crit, it would remain at 16k with 2 crit, which unfortunately just doesn't really net an awful lot of power or consistency. So at that point, you're kind of just falling short of every single Azel player ever. Now, when we come to MLB, the fallen god of Vanguard 0, I think it is still an incredibly powerful deck. However, I do now think it is the top of tier 2. after the hit to Wing or Brave, only being able to search out MLB itself, with you only really having a couple searches for the other cards. As much as I think it's still an incredibly consistent deck, and you still have plenty of searches, you effectively removed one search, and even then you can still get MLB out of it. What you do sacrifice is you're basically counterblasting 2 to guarantee a grade 3 ride, but you're also losing a trigger. So at that point, I don't really think it's that worth it, but it's still a booster. It's still able to search out its other pieces, and when you get it off, it is still an incredibly strong deck, and it's very difficult to go up against. And finally, so last but not least, we're stuck with Beast Deities, a deck that I think is quite firmly in the it needs more support. So I know in the future we'll get more Beast Deities. I haven't really checked on the JP side, but I think when we get things like Ethics Buster Extreme, and some more Beast Deity support, I think then it could potentially be a pretty good meta deck. But even then, when we look at JP now, even with Ethics Buster in the game, it really just lends itself to supporting Blau over anything. At which point it puts a bit of a damper on the success of Beast Deities, and we'll kind of have to see how that evolves as more and more sets come out on JP. So yeah, I think this is kind of, generally speaking, what our list would look like now on the eve of Set 7's release. And yeah, so again, guys, I want to say thank you very, very much for watching. You'll be able to find us most days now, especially with the new meta. We'll be playing a lot of Dayusha and Bermuda Triangle over on twitch.tv/EKO_CBG. So guys, I hope you guys had a good time. Thank you very, very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys on Twitch. Bye, guys.